Hey everybody, in this video I want to show you the difference between these two cars here. So this here on the right hand side is a new i10, it's what's called the N-line version. In this video I'm going to run through the differences that you specifically get on an N-line, and then we'll have a general look around the car, and we'll also go for a drive in the car because the engine's also different in this car. If there's any information you want on one of these cars, 086 843 1945, and give me a shout, call, text, WhatsApp, whatever suits, and I'll be happy to run through the information on any of the i10s. Anyway, let's start having a look at the difference between the two cars. I have to say, I get disproportionately excited about small cars when they come out. They're fun, I just like them to drive because they're nimble. And this is actually a really sporty car to drive. It's not super fast, but it's really enjoyable. Anyway, visually, what are the differences? Okay, so obviously the body size and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't change at all. But like very quickly, you can see the one on the right hand side is much more aggressive. The bumpers are a different shape. So if you see the way this comes down and around along here, so two kind of grills along there. This is a much more larger, pronounced one section grille, with the two fog lights having their own separate grills. There's a red line across the bottom of this N line. Then the daytime running lights are more of a sort of a diamond sort of finish on this one, whereas they have more kind of three stripes going down along through here. The style of the grill, so you have these kind of diamondy shapes on the grill. This one over here, while they are more, well, they're more triangular in shape, I suppose, so much more angular than the other one. However, in fairness, this one is a gloss black. This one looks like a brighter gloss black, but I think that's just because it's dry this morning. The headlights are also different. So if you look, these ones have a black surround around the background, and they also have more of a projector built into the headlight, whereas these ones have the normal sort of halogen setup. So again, these are all things that just make the front end of the car on the right hand side, being the N-line, just that much more aggressive looking. Moving around to the rear of the car, to be fair, both of them have a spoiler, so nothing has changed there. One thing I do see, however, on the C-pillar back here, this has i10 in red, whereas this one has i10 in black. The second thing then, you'll notice these are a nice LED taillight along through here, whereas these are a halogen taillight over through there. The fog lights and the reverse lights down low are the exact same on both cars. The diffuser even along the bottom bumper is quite similar, but I really love the fact that this one actually has an exposed exhaust, so it looks really sporty, and there's a little bit of a rasp off it as well. And then also along here there's a little red line along the back bumper again, so you know it's more sporty. Exhaust I think is the big giveaway, but the little red line, those two things together just makes it look more sporty than this one, and also the fact that it has the nice LEDs either side. The next difference then between them, looking down the side of the car, it's really from here. So an N-line has a badge over here, whereas the deluxe one doesn't, and then the wheels are a nice diamond cut finish. They're diamond cut in that, but these are much more sporty looking. The other thing as well then, these wheels are a 16-inch wheel, these are a 15-inch wheel, these are a 195 width tyre, these are a 185, these are a 45 profile tyre, these are a 55 profile tyre. So it's just a much more aggressive wheel than the non-N-line version. Mirror caps are black in gloss, these ones are colour coded. So in my opinion then, the N-line, it is just a more sporty looking car. Anyway, there's lots of differences on the inside as well. Okay, so the more sporty N-line, if you see along here, red stitching, and just bear this pattern in mind, so this kind of pleated sort of look in between. So dark with red stitching, with this kind of pleated look in through here. I'm actually not sure if pleated is an actual word, but anyway, it is today. This is more of a grey stitching with these lines in between. And while there is sort of, how would you say, shapes and compressions and stuff in it, it's just a different shape. But usually, in my opinion, red stitching is just a little bit more sporty. Okay, still on Deluxe here. So if you look at Deluxe, a light grey peripheral area around the seats. Again, the light grey line along through here, and this sort of design along the middle section of the seats. Whereas when I go back to the sportier N-line, again, more red stitching, red line down through the middle, red stitching up on the armrest, and again it has this more, what I'm terming, this sort of pleated effect along, and it's sort of nearly a wider area, but darker on the peripheral compared to the Deluxe model we looked at. In terms of the interior of the Deluxe, oops, I should turn off that heating. So looking at the Deluxe over here, the usual stuff, electrics for windows and mirrors, it has a nice digital dash clocks, all the stuff that's on the steering wheel, all that's going to be standard in N-line. I'm going to come back to that in a minute when we drive N-line, but just bearing in mind the light peripheral area on the seats, looking at the shape of the gear knob, looking at the shape of the steering wheel and the black stitching that's around it, and then also observing on the Deluxe model the black plastic pedals or pedal covers even, whereas this one, when we get into N-line, observing a much sportier gear knob with N designation, a steering wheel with some red stitching, with again an N designation, and sportier aluminium even pedals for the driver. And like what we saw before, then darker peripherals with this sort of pleating effect on the seats. Okay, so one thing on our N-line range is normally, N-line gives you all the features that I just talked about, sometimes internal, sometimes external, but you normally have to go for like an N version to get a different engine. Anyway, this car has a different engine to this car, and that's what I really like on the i10, because the fact that they've also gone and changed the engine as well. So this car is a 66 horsepower, 1 litre multi-point injection, so you'll see 6 injection points, 3 cylinders basically, 66 horsepower. I like them to drive, not fast, but you can actually drive them on and have fun and still stay in the speed limits. This one is a 1.2 engine, looks like a very similar engine to what's in i20, and that car then is going to make 84 horsepower, which really is about 25% more power. So that's an extra 20 horsepower on a car that's really not that heavy. In my opinion, having that bigger engine is going to translate into two things. Obviously more power, which makes it more fun, and that's what I like personally. But my experience over the years is actually slightly larger engines tend to be more fuel efficient because you're not putting your foot down as much. Stand to be, you know, contradicted in the comments below, but that is my experience over the years. So I think this one might be slightly more fuel efficient at higher speeds, motorway speeds and stuff like that. So like we're saying, nice grills, nice badging. Forgot to tell you about these little 3 red stripes along there. Nicer headlights, nicer wheels, nicer badge along the side, the mirror caps, and then like what we saw around on the rear, nicer exhaust, nicer LED taillights, little red stripe along the rear bumper, and then all the stuff that we talked about on the inside of the car. I'm excited to drive it, so let's go for a quick drive in the car. And I just want to run through really quick some of the stuff. Oh yeah, sorry, some people are going to be curious about the boot. There is a reverse camera here. This is the size of the boot. Yes, it's not massive, but it is not a large car. Spare wheels down through there. Boot space is ample, but obviously buggies and stuff like that is not going to be as easy to do. Some stuff we didn't talk about, 3 head restraints. Isofix here, Isofix there for rearward facing child seats. This is a 5-seater car. I know that sounds dumb, but there was at one point a 4-seater version of an i10 a couple of years ago, so just confused some people at the time. Height adjustable seat, rake reach steering, so it goes in and out, but it goes up and down as well. Electrics for windows, electrics for mirrors, and actually I forgot to talk about the red surrounds around the ventilation as well. Drinks holders. Now this stuff is common to i10s. Wireless charging, 2 USB points, actually USB-A and USB-C, USB-C being a faster charge. Really nice gear knob. I know it sounds silly, right, but having a nicer steering wheel and gear knob engages you with the car much more. It's a nicer experience. Heating controls are real straightforward, I love that. Reverse camera we talked about, and in here then will be things like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto for Google Maps, and then you see these dash clocks while we're driving. So they're more of a digital kind of setup. This in here is things like settings, average speed, fuel efficiency, tire pressures, all that kind of stuff. And then it's got some blue lights. I think it would be better if they were red, because it matches all the other red on the car. Actually, just in terms of safety, so all these cars, they have side impact protection beams, there's anti-lock brakes, things like emergency brake distribution and anti-lock brakes, and they're all things that mean you can slam on the brakes and have full braking pressure, driver curtain side airbags. They have speed limit assist functions, they have lane keep assist functions, so they're a really safe car. In terms of driving, I love driving cars this size. I always have, and I think I always will. I just love it. Even if they're not sports cars, they feel sporty to me because they're small, they're nimble, they change direction quickly, they speed up and slow down quickly. I just really enjoy the feedback that you get from them. Things like having a nicer gear knob and having a nicer steering wheel sounds like a silly thing, but it actually does improve the driving experience of the car. And the 1.2 engine has more kind of torque, I think, than the smaller 3-cylinder engine that normally comes in them. Like we're saying to you, for a small car like this, doing a really simple 3-point turn, not a big deal. Now, to be fair, visibility is quite good. You have quite a big high-mounted camera in through the centre of the dash as well anyway. But like I was saying, I just really enjoy cars this size. So one other thing I think is going to be relevant here is sometimes people fear that the 1 litre 3-cylinder on a motorway, I never had a problem with it, but I feared that maybe it wasn't suitable for motorway driving. This as a 4-cylinder is probably going to feel a little bit smoother and a little bit more suitable for higher speed driving. But again, like we were saying, quite nimble in around the middle of towns and stuff like that as well. Don't take my word for it, come try it yourself. But but I'd be very, very surprised if people didn't enjoy this car to drive. And the level of equipment that's in the car as well, it's pretty much comparable to what you get in the modern Hyundai Tucson that we've sold for the last few years. Anyway, so it drives really, really well. So if you'd like information on one of these cars, 086 843 1945, or if you're watching on YouTube and I've missed something that you want to know about, let me know in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer the questions. I don't think there's many cars that are kind of in around this size and budget anymore. Small cars seem to be disappearing, and especially as we get closer to electric cars, which tend to be more expensive, there's probably not too many alternatives left when it comes to you know, a small city hopper style of car. But with a bigger engine in this, I think it's going to be more comfortable on motorways and stuff like that as well. Anyway, thanks for watching.